Genesis 1 through 3 summarized. Genesis 1. God creates the universe in 6 days, bringing order from chaos. He makes light, sky, land, seas, vegetation, sun, moon, stars, sea creatures, birds, land animals, and finally humans in His own image. God gives humanity dominion over creation and commands them to be fruitful and multiply. He declares everything very good and rests on the seventh day, making it holy. Genesis 2. God forms Adam from dust, breathes life into him, and places him in the Garden of Eden with instructions not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Finding no suitable companion among the animals, God creates Eve from Adam's rib. The two are naked and unashamed. Genesis 3. The serpent tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, promising she'll become like God. Eve eats and gives some to Adam. Their eyes open to their nakedness, and they hide from God in shame. God curses the serpent, pronounces judgment on humanity, pain in childbirth, difficult labor, and death, then banishes them from Eden. What this means for us today. We matter. Being made in God's image means every person has value. We need others. We were built for relationships, not isolation. Work and rest both matter. We are designed to do both, not just hustle constantly. Why life is hard. Sin broke our relationship with God and introduced pain, conflict, and death into the world. There is hope. God hints at future rescue, even in the midst of judgment.
Made in the image of something divine, every person precious, every life a sign
that we matter, carved with purpose and care, not just existing, but meant to be there.
We need each other, we're built for the bond, not for isolation, but relationship strong.
Designed for connection, community, love, not to walk alone
in the world we're part of. Work has its place and rest has its time, both woven together in rhythm and rhyme.
Not endless hustling until we break, but balance in giving and time we take.
Yet life is hard,
and the reason is clear.
Sin broke the garden, introduced the fear. Torn from our maker, conflict was born. Pain touched the living, and death came at dawn. But even in judgment, in darkness and loss, a whisper of rescue, a hint at the cost. God planted hope in the ruins we made, a promise of healing that will not fade. We matter, we're cherished though broken apart, made in His image, still close to His heart. Through work and through rest, through others we find there's hope for redemption for all humankind.
Genesis 4-6. Genesis 4. Cain murders his brother Abel out of jealousy after God favors Abel's offering, and God curses Cain to wander the earth. The chapter ends with genealogies of Cain's descendants and the birth of Seth, Adam's third son, through whose line people began calling on God's name. Genesis 5. This chapter provides a genealogy from Adam to Noah, spanning 10 generations, noting each patriarch's lifespan. Enoch uniquely walked with God and was taken by God without dying, and the line concludes with Noah and his 3 sons. Genesis 6. Humanity's wickedness grows, prompting God to destroy the earth with a flood. However, Noah finds favor with God due to his righteousness, and God instructs him to build an ark to save his family and representatives of all living creatures. What this means for us today. Our choices matter. Cain's jealousy led to murder, showing how unchecked anger can destroy lives. We are responsible for controlling our emotions and treating others with love, not violence. Righteousness stands out. In a corrupt world, Noah's faithfulness to God made a difference. Even when everyone around us is doing wrong, we can choose to do what's right. God cares about how we live. These chapters show that God notices both wickedness and goodness. Our actions, whether harmful or faithful, have real consequences, and God values those who pursue what's good and just.
Cain and Abel brought their gifts to God above.
One was taken, one was not. Jealousy killed love.
Brothers' blood cried out from the dusty ground. Now he wanders far from home, never to be found. Our choices echo through the years, from anger's fire to faithful tears. In a world that's lost its way, will we choose the righteous path today?
Enoch walked so close with God, he disappeared one day.
Noah stood alone and true when the world had gone astray.
God looked down and saw the pain, the violence and the shame. But one man found
Favor still when he called out Noah's name. Our choices echo through the years, from anger's fire to faithful tears. In a world that's lost its way, will we choose the righteous path today? Build an ark where rains will come, save the few, the many run. Even when the darkness falls, grace can still break through it all. Our choices echo through the years, from anger's fire to faithful tears. In a world that's lost its way, we can choose the righteous path today.
Genesis 7. God tells Noah to get into the ark with his family and the animals. After they're all inside, God closes the door and the flood begins. It rains for 40 days and 40 nights, and the water covers everything, even the mountains. Every living thing on earth dies except Noah, his family, and the animals in the ark. Genesis 8. God makes the water go down. The ark lands on a mountain, and Noah sends out birds to see if the land is dry. After more than a year, God tells Noah to leave the ark. Noah offers a sacrifice to God, and God promises never to flood the whole earth again. Genesis 9. God blesses Noah and his family and tells them to have children and fill the earth. God says people can now eat meat, but not blood. God makes a promise, covenant, to never flood the earth again, and puts a rainbow in the sky as a reminder. Noah plants a vineyard, gets drunk, and there's trouble between him and his sons that leads Noah cursing Canaan and blessing his other sons. What this means for us today. God's judgment and mercy. These chapters show that God takes human wickedness seriously, but also provides a way of salvation. Just as God preserved Noah and his family, the story reminds us that God offers rescue to those who trust and obey him, even in the midst of judgment on evil. New beginnings. After the flood, humanity gets a fresh start. This teaches us that God is a God of second chances, who will bring renewal even after catastrophe. No matter how broken things seem, restoration is possible. The value of human life. God's establishment of capital punishment for murder and his emphasis that humans are made in his image underscores the sacred worth of every human life, a principle that still shapes our views on human rights and dignity today. God keeps his promises. The Rainbow Covenant shows God's faithfulness. When we see a rainbow, we can remember that God is trustworthy and keeps his word. This encourages us to trust God's other promises as well. Human imperfection continues. Even after the flood, Noah sins, getting drunk, showing that external circumstances don't fix the human heart. This reminds us of our ongoing need for God's grace and transformation, not just better conditions. Environmental stewardship. God's care for preserving animal species and his covenant with every living creature suggests we have responsibility to care for creation and the animals entrusted to us.
Noah was 600 years when the rain began to fall. God said, take your family, I'm gonna save you all. 7 pairs of every clean beast and 2 of all the rest. Enter in the ark now, you've passed my righteousness test. 40 days, 40 nights, water's covered everything. But God remembered Noah while the heavens opened wide. And when the dove came back no more, it was time to step outside to a promise in the sky, a rainbow in the light.
The ark came to rest on Ararat's mountain high. Noah sent a raven out to search the earth and sky. Then a dove went once and twice, came back with olive leaf. The third time she flew away, the waters found relief.
40 days, 40 nights, waters covered everything. But God remembered Noah while the heavens opened wide. And when the dove came back no more, it was time to step outside to a promise in the sky, a rainbow in the light. Built an altar, offered thanks
For mercy and for grace.
God said, never again will I destroy the human race. Seed time, harvest, cold and heat, summer, winter, day and night. I set my bow among the clouds, my covenant of life.
Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth again. The rainbow is my promise that the flood won't come again.
Every time the rain clouds form and colors paint the sky, remember God is faithful, His promise won't run dry.
Genesis 10 lists Noah's descendants and how nations spread across the earth after the flood. Genesis 11 tells of the Tower of Babel, where God confuses human language and scatters people worldwide. It then traces the genealogy from Shem to Abraham. Genesis 12 contains God's call to Abram to leave his homeland for Canaan, promising to make him a great nation and bless all peoples through him. Abram obeys at age 75. During a famine in Egypt, Abram claims Sarai is his sister rather than his wife, leading to complications with Pharaoh before they're sent away. What this means for us today. Trust God even when the path is unclear. Abram left home without knowing where he was going. Sometimes faith means taking the next step without seeing the whole journey. We're blessed to bless others. God blessed Abram so he could be a blessing to everyone else. What we receive isn't just for ourselves. It's meant to benefit others too. God uses imperfect people. Abram lied out of fear in Egypt, yet God still worked through him. Our mistakes don't disqualify us from God's purposes. Let God make your name great. At Babel, people tried to make themselves famous. God told Abram, I will make your name great. It's better to receive purpose from God than to build it ourselves. The core message. God calls ordinary, flawed people to trust Him and participate in blessing the world.
From the waters, 3 sons came, Shem and Ham and Japheth's his name, spreading out across the land. Nations born from Noah's end.
One language, one people strong, building towers, singing songs. Let's reach heaven, make our name. But God came down and changed the game.
Babel, Babel, tongues confused, scattered far, the world renewed. But a promise yet to come, through one man, for everyone.
Leave your home, God told the man. I will show you where to stand. I will bless you, Abram's seed. Father of a nation you'll be.
75, he packed his life, took his nephew took his wife to Canaan land. By faith he went, trusting in the promised land. Babel, Babel, tongues confused, scattered far, the world renewed. Now a promise has begun. Through Abram's seed, blessing comes. Though we stumble, though we fear, through his line
Hope appear.
all the families of the earth find their blessing through his birth.
Genesis 13. Abram and Lot both have so many animals that the land can't support them together, and their workers start fighting. Abram lets Lot choose where he wants to go first. Lot picks the fertile valley near Sodom, and Abram stays in Canaan. After they separate, God promises Abram that all the land around him will belong to his future descendants, who will be too many to count. Genesis 14. Several kings go to war and capture Lot during the battle. When Abram hears this, he takes his men, rescues Lot, and brings back all the people and possessions. On his way home, a priest came who blesses Abram, and Abram gives him a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom offers Abram a reward, but Abram refuses to take anything. Genesis 15. God promises Abram that he will have his own son as an heir, and that his descendants will be as countless as the stars. Abram believes God, and God counts his faith as righteousness. God then makes a formal covenant with Abram, promising him the land, but warning that his descendants will first be slaves in another country for 400 years before returning. What it means for us today. Trust over stuff. Abram let Lot pick first to keep peace. Sometimes it's better to be generous than to fight over getting the best for ourselves. Believing when it's hard. Abram had no kids and was old, but he believed God's promises anyway. We all face times when we have to trust or hope, even when we can't see how things will work out. It takes time. God told Abram his descendants would suffer for 400 years before getting what was promised. Good things often take longer than we want, and we might be building something for others rather than ourselves. Relationships, not perfection. God made promises to Abram based on Abram's faith, not because Abram was perfect. Many people find comfort in the idea that we don't have to earn love or approval by being flawless.
Standing on the mountain, looking at the land, two paths diverging, had to take a stand.
You chose the valley, I chose to believe in promises spoken, though I couldn't see.
When everything was falling, you came rushing in, brought me out of battle, saved my wandering kin. Now I'm standing here with nothing but my faith, empty hands and questions, will your promise fade?
You said count the stars if you can number them, that's how many will come from where we've been. Look to the horizon, north and south and west and east, all of this I give to you, this is my decree. So I'll trust the promise, though the night is long, I'll count the stars and sing this song.
You split the sacrifice and walk between the pain, a smoking fire, sealing what remains.
No conditions on me, you made the vow alone. 400 years of waiting, then
is mine at last. I believe.
You said count the stars if you can number them. That's how many will come from where we've been.
From the river to the sea, you made a covenant with me. All of this you give to us for all eternity. So I'll trust
The promise, though the night is long, I'll count the stars and sing this song. I'll count the stars and sing this song.
do not fear. I am your shield.
Your great reward, this promise sealed.
Genesis 16. Sarah can't have children, so she gives her servant Hagar to Abram to have a child. When Hagar gets pregnant, she looks down on Sarah, which causes problems between them. Sarah treats Hagar badly, so Hagar runs away. An angel finds Hagar in the desert and tells her to go back and submit to Sarah. The angel promises Hagar will have many descendants and tells her to name her son Ishmael. Hagar returns and has the baby when Abraham is 86. Genesis 17. God appears to Abraham when he's 99 and makes a covenant with him. God changes his name from Abram to Abraham and promises he'll be the father of many nations and that his descendants will have the land of Canaan forever. Abraham immediately circumcises himself, Ishmael, and all the males in the household. Genesis 18. 3 men visit Abraham, and he welcomes them with food and rest. One of them, the Lord says, Sarah will have a son within a year. Sarah overhears and laughs because she's too old. God questions why she laughed and says nothing is impossible for him. The men then head towards Sodom, and God tells Abraham he's going to check out the evil reports about Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham bargains with God, asking if he would spare the cities if righteous people lived there. God agrees to spare them if even 10 righteous people can be found. What this means for us today. God keeps his promises. Even when something seems impossible, like a 90-year-old having a baby, God can do it. We can trust him even when we don't see how things will work out. Wait on God's timing. Sarah got impatient and tried to fix things herself with Hagar, which created a mess. When we try to force our own solutions instead of waiting for God, we often make things worse. God cares about everyone. When Hagar runs away, scared and alone, God found her and took care of her. God sees people who are hurting or forgotten, not just the important ones. We can talk honestly with God. Abraham actually bargained with God about saving Sodom. God wants us to pray and bring our concerns to him. He listens. God is faithful even when we mess up. Abraham and Sarah doubted and laughed at God, but he still kept his promise. Our mistakes don't cancel God's plans.
By the oaks of Mamre in the heat of day, 3 strangers came along the way. Abraham ran to meet them at his tent, bowed low and offered what heaven sent. Water for their feet, bread for their soul, a promise waiting to unfold. Nothing is too hard for the Lord. Sarah laughs behind the door. Child will come when hope seems gone. The promise lives on.
Hagar into the desert spring,
sees my tears, the God who finds us in our fears. Nothing is too hard for the Lord. Sarah laughs behind the door. A child will come when hope seems gone. The promise lives, the promise lives on. Shall the judge of all the earth do right? Abraham pleads through the night for 50, 40, 30, 10. Mercy speaks for righteous men. Nothing is too hard for the Lord. Grace appears at every door when faith is weak and hope is thin. The promise lives, the promise lives within.
Genesis 19. Angels visit Lot in the wicked city of Sodom. They warn him to escape because God is going to destroy the city. Lot flees with his wife and daughters, but his wife looks back and turns into a pillar of salt. God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah with fire. Genesis 20. Abraham lies and tells King Abimelech that Sarah is his sister, not his wife. God warns Abimelech in a dream, so he returns Sarah to Abraham. Genesis 21. Sarah gives birth to Isaac in her old age, just as God promised. Sarah gets jealous of Hagar and tells son Ishmael, so Abraham sends them away into the desert. God saves them and promises them that Ishmael will also become a great nation. What this means for us today. God keeps his promises. Sarah had a baby even though she was old, just like God said. Bad choices have consequences. The people of Sodom were destroyed because of their wickedness. Lying causes problems. Abraham lied about Sarah being his sister, which created trouble he could have avoided. God cares about everyone. When Hagar and her son were alone and dying in the desert, God saved them. Family problems are real. Even faithful people like Abraham had jealousy and conflict in their family.
Two angels came to Sodom's gate. Light rose to meet them, it's getting late.
Don't spend the night out in the square. Evil surrounded everywhere.
Run to the mountains, don't look back.
Salt and ashes mark the track. When fire falls and kingdoms shake, God remembers for mercy's sake. From the ashes, life breaks through.
He keeps his promises to you.
Sarah held a child she thought she'd never hold. Laughter turned from doubt to gold.
Isaac, joy has come. The impossible becomes the done.
But in the tent, the tension grows. Two sons, two mothers, heaven knows.
In the wilderness with empty skin,
Hagar laid him down to die within.
she couldn't watch her boy's last breath.
But God heard cry and conquered death.
A well of water.
Heaven's eye.
God hears a child, God hears our cry.
When fire falls and kingdoms shake,
God remembers for mercy's sake. From the ashes, life breaks through.
He keeps his promises to you. Abraham rose early in the dawn, sent them away but not alone.
Bread and water for the road. God will lighten every load.
Generations rising from the sand,
all held in the Father's hand. When hope is gone and all seems lost, He pays the impossible's cost. From the wilderness to promised land, we're held within His faithful hand.
He keeps His promises.
Yes, He keeps His promises to you.
Genesis 22. God tests Abraham by telling him to sacrifice his son Isaac. Abraham obeys, but right before he does it, an angel stops him. God provides a ram to sacrifice instead and blesses Abraham for his faith. Genesis 23. Sarah dies at 127 years old. Abraham buys a cave and field to bury her in, his first owned land in Canaan. Genesis 24. Abraham sends his servant to find a wife for Isaac from his relatives back home. The servant prays for a sign, and Rebekah appears and does exactly what he prayed for. She agrees to marry Isaac, and they return to Canaan together. What does this mean for us today? Trust God even when life is hard. Abraham trusted God in an impossible situation. We can trust God with our difficult problems too. God provides what we need. God provided the ram and brought Rebekah at just the right time. He can provide for us today. Pray for guidance. The servant prayed specifically about finding a wife for Isaac. We can pray about our big decisions too. God is faithful. God kept His promises to Abraham's family. He keeps His promises to us too.
Up the mountain wood on his back, father and son on a winding track. Where's the lamb? The young boy asks. God will provide through the tears and the task. Faith like Abraham, holding on when the night is dark and hope seems gone. Trust the promise keeper's hand, even when you don't understand.
The knife raised high, then the angels cry. Don't lay a hand on the boy the Lord provides.
A ram caught there in the thorns nearby. The God who sees made a way to life. Faith like Abraham, holding on when the night is dark and hope seems gone. Trust the promise keeper's hand, even when you don't understand. Sarah's laughter turned to rest. A cave in Machpelah lay to blessed. But the story doesn't end with grief. A servant's prayer, well, Rebekah's lead. Will you go with this man? They asked that day. She said, I will, and went on her way. Isaac saw her coming from afar. Love was the answer to a faithful prayer. Faith like Abraham, holding on. Ooh, through every trial, every dawn. Trust the promise keeper's hand. He's been faithful, he has a plan.
Genesis 25. Abraham dies. Isaac's wife Rebekah has twin sons, Esau, the older, and Jacob. One day Esau is so hungry he sells his birthright, also known as his special inheritance as the firstborn, to Jacob for some stew. Genesis 26. Isaac lives in a land called Gerar. During a famine, God blesses him and he becomes wealthy. He digs wells and makes peace with the local king. Genesis 27. Isaac is old and blind. He wants to bless Esau, but Jacob and his mother Rebekah trick Isaac. Jacob pretends to be Esau and steals the blessing. When Esau finds out, he's furious and wants to kill Jacob, so Jacob runs away. What this means for us today. Think before you act. Esau gave up something important for a quick meal. Don't trade what really matters for what you want right now. Don't lie and cheat. Jacob's lies tore his family apart, and he had to run away. Dishonesty causes serious problems. Treat people fairly. The parents played favorites with their kids, which made everything worse. Don't have favorites. Your choices matter. Once Esau sold his birthright and Jacob stole the blessing, they couldn't undo it. Be careful with important decisions. God can still work through messy situations. Even though his family was dysfunctional, God's plan continued. Nobody's perfect.
Two brothers came into the world that day, fighting even before they saw the light. The firstborn red and covered up in hair, the second holding to his brother's heel so tight.
Esau loved the open field and bough. Jacob stayed close to the tents at home. A father's favorite, a mother's chosen son. A family divided, a house that couldn't stand as one.
For a bowl of stew,
You tell your soul,
trade forever for a moment's warmth.
no man's
The
fault.
birthright stolen, the blessing taken, with trembling hands and a voice that shook. Hairy arms and the smell of the field. Nothing ever is quite what it seems.
Old Isaac lying in the darkness now, calling for the son he loved the best. Bring me venison before I die, so I can speak the blessing and then rest.
But Rebekah heard and made a plan. Dress her younger son in his brother's skin. Sent him in with savory meat and wine. Jacob spoke his father's name and lied.
Who am I? Are you really my son? The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's hands. A stolen moment, a fractured family, the tears of Esau. Have you no blessing left for me?
For a bowl of stew,
He sold his soul,
trade her forever for a moment.
moonlight
The
swamp.
birthright stolen, the blessing spoken, cannot be taken back, and Jacob runs while Esau weeps.
Nothing ever is
Quite what it seems. The deceiver will be deceived in turn.
Nothing ever is
Quite what it seems.
Genesis 28. Jacob leaves home to find a wife. On the way, he dreams of a ladder to heaven with angels on it. God promises to bless him and his descendants. Jacob names the place Bethel. Genesis 29. Jacob arrives at his uncle Laban's house and falls in love with Rachel. He works 7 years to marry her, but Laban tricks him and gives him Leah instead. Jacob works another 7 years to also marry Rachel. Leah has 4 sons, but Rachel can't have children yet. Genesis 30. Rachel and Leah compete to give Jacob children through themselves and their servants. Jacob ends up with many sons and 1 daughter. Rachel finally has a son named Joseph. Jacob gets wealthy by cleverly breeding Laban's flocks. What this means for us today. God is with you even when life is hard. Jacob was alone and running away, but God still showed up and made promises to him. Lying and cheating hurt everyone. Jacob tricked his dad, then got tricked himself. Bad choices come back around. Your family doesn't have to be perfect. Jacob's family was a mess. Jealousy, favoritism, fighting. The Bible shows real people with real problems. God can use messy situations. Even with all the drama, God's plan moved forward. These flawed people became ancestors of Jesus. Trust God's timing. Rachel desperately wanted a baby and tried to force it, but she had to wait for God's time.
Left Beersheba with a stone for a pillow, stars above and earth below.
in my sleep. I saw a ladder, angels climbing to and fro, and the Lord stood at the top and promised me this land beneath my head will someday hold my family tree. Oh, the journey's long and the road is hard, but I'm walking on a promise from the God of Abraham. Through the years of labor, through the tears and trials, I'm holding to the covenant. I'm Jacob, Israel's child.
Came to her arms, saw her by the well. Rachel's beauty cast its spell.
7 years I worked for love, seemed like days, the stars above.
But Leah came veiled on my wedding night.
Deceiver now deceived, tasting my own bitter bite. Oh, the journey's long and the road is hard, but I'm walking on a promise from the God of Abraham. Through the years of labor, through the tears and trials, I'm holding to the covenant. I'm Jacob, Israel's child.
Leah unloved, Rachel barren, crying.
sons multiplying. Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar's hand, Zebulun and Dinah, born to Leah's pain. Then Rachel's prayer was answered. Joseph came. Oh, the journey is long, but the promise stands. I'm a father of a nation by the God of Abraham's plan. Through deception and redemption, through the wrestling and the wild, I'm becoming who I'm called to be. I'm Jacob, Israel's child.
From a dreamer with a stone to a father far from home.
The ladder reaches heaven still, and I'm climbing, climbing still.
Genesis 31. Jacob decides to leave his father-in-law Laban after 20 years. He takes his wives, children, and flocks and sneaks away. Laban chases after him, upset that Jacob left without saying goodbye, and because Rachel stole his household gods. They argue but eventually make peace and go their separate ways. Genesis 32. Jacob heads home, but hears his brother Esau is coming with 400 men. He's terrified because he tricked Esau years ago. Jacob prays, divides his group for safety, and sends gifts ahead to Esau. That night he wrestles with God and gets a new name, Israel. Genesis 33. When Jacob finally meets Esau, he bows down respectfully. To his surprise, Esau runs to him, hugs him, and they both cry. The brothers reconcile. Esau wants to travel together, but Jacob politely declines. They part as friends, and Jacob settles in a new place. What this means for us today. Here are some ways these chapters can speak to us today. Facing the past. Like Jacob returning to face Esau after years of running from what he did, we sometimes need to confront past wrongs or broken relationships. Avoiding them doesn't make them go away. Fear and faith together. Jacob was genuinely terrified of meeting Esau, yet he still prayed and moved forward. It's okay to be afraid and faithful at the same time. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Reconciliation is possible. Jacob and Esau's reunion shows that even deeply damaged relationships can heal. What seemed impossible, two brothers who hated each other embracing, actually happened. Time, humility, and willingness to reconcile matter. Wrestling with God. Jacob's all-night wrestling match suggests that honest struggle with God, doubt, questions, persistence, isn't disrespectful. Sometimes we have to wrestle through hard things, and that struggle can transform us, letting go of control. Jacob spent his whole life manipulating situations, tricking Esau, outsmarting Laban, but ultimately had to surrender control and trust God with the outcome of meeting Esau. New beginnings. Jacob's new name, Israel, represents a new identity beyond his past mistakes. We too can become something new, not erased by our past, but transformed through it. This story reminds us that facing our fears, seeking reconciliation, and trusting God through uncertainty are timeless challenges.
years I've worked this land, tending flocks with weathered hands. Laban changed my wages 10 times over, but God has seen my labor through. Now He's calling me to something new. It's time to leave, time to start over. On the long road home,
Where mercy meets the past,
wrestling with my fears.
and the shadows that I've cast.
Will my brother's arms be open, or will justice finally come? I'm walking by faith alone on the long road home.
Rachel took her father's God. I didn't know what she had got. At Mizpah we made our peace and parted, but now a greater fear arrives. My brother comes with 400 lives, and I'm trembling, broken hearted
On the long road home,
at the Jabbok in the night.
I wrestle till the morning light.
I won't let go until you bless me.
Change my name from Jacob's schemes to Israel, the one who's seen
The face of God, and yet He's blessing me.
on the long road home.
Where grace defeated fear,
He surrendered to meet me.
embrace me through my tears.
Sometimes the journey's longer than the miles we've got to roam, but love was with
Genesis 34, Dinah and Shechem. Jacob's daughter Dinah is raped by a local prince named Shechem. He wants to marry her. Dinah's brothers trick the men of the city into getting circumcised, then kill them all while they're recovering. Jacob is upset about the violence. Genesis 35, back to Bethel. God tells Jacob to go back to Bethel. God blesses him again and names him Israel. Rachel dies giving birth to Benjamin. Isaac dies at age 180. Genesis 36. Esau's family. A list of Esau's descendants and the kings who came from his family line in Edom. What this means for us today. From Dinah's story, revenge makes things worse, not better. Our actions hurt others around us. From Jacob at Bethel. Remove things that compete with God in your life. God keeps His promises. From Rachel and Isaac's deaths. Sadness is part of life, but God is still with us. From Esau. Broken families can make peace. Bottom line, choose forgiveness over revenge. Put God first, and work to repair damaged relationship.
Shaken's walls held secrets, pain nobody should know. A daughter stolen innocence, brothers burning low.
Deception met with violence, blood upon the ground.
Sometimes broken people leave destruction all around.
But there's a voice that calls through all the shame.
Come back to Bethel, I still know your name. God said rise up, go back to where I made you. Back to the altar where you saw the ladder reaching through. Leave behind the idols,
Bury them beneath the tree.
Bethel again.
battle again. It's time to remember me. Rachel's dying whisper as the baby came to life.
Benoni, son of sorrow, son of all her strife.
That Jacob called him Benjamin chose blessing over pain.
Even in the breaking, love can rise again. Through the loss and through the grief and shame,
God was there at Bethel,
faithful just the same. God said, rise up, go back to where I met you, back to the altar where you saw the ladder reaching through.
leave behind the idols,
Bury them beneath the tree. Bethel again,
Bethel again.
it's time to remember. Leave.
Generations rising, falling, scattered to the wind.
But promises are promises,
Faithful to the end.
from Abraham to Isaac.
Now to Jacob's line.
The covenant keeps holding through the passing time. We all need to go back to where He met us, back to the altar where we saw His love break through. Leave behind the idols
That we're holding secretly.
Bethel again.
Bethel again.
He's calling you and me. Come home again. He remembers your name.
Genesis 37. Joseph's father Jacob loves him most and gives him a special coat. His brothers get jealous and hate him. Joseph has dreams that his family will bow down to him, which makes things worse. His brothers throw him in a pit, then sell him as a slave to traders going to Egypt. They lie to Jacob and tell him Joseph was killed by an animal. Joseph ends up in Egypt working for a man named Potiphar. Genesis 38. Judah, one of Joseph's brothers, has a daughter-in-law named Tamar. After her husband dies, Judah doesn't keep his promise to her. Tamar tricks Judah and gets pregnant by him. When the truth comes out, Judah admits he was wrong. Genesis 39. In Egypt, Joseph does well because God helps him. His master, Potiphar, trusts him with everything, but Potiphar's wife lies about Joseph and gets him thrown in prison. Even in prison, God is with Joseph, and he does well there too. What this means for us today. Here are the main lessons. Bad things can lead to good things. Joseph's brothers hurt him, but God had a plan. When bad stuff happens to us, God can still use it. Keep doing what's right. Joseph stayed faithful to God, even as a slave and in prison. We can do the same when life is hard. Don't give in to temptation, even though it got him in trouble. Joseph said no to Potiphar's wife, even though it got him in trouble. Doing the right thing is more important than taking the easy way out. God is always with you. God was with Joseph everywhere, in the good times and bad times. He's with us too, no matter what we're going through. Jealousy hurts everyone. Joseph's brothers were jealous, and it destroyed their family. We need to watch out for jealousy in our own hearts. Your choices matter. What we do affects ourselves and others. Choose wisely.
"17 years old with a coat of many colors, favorite son among his brothers, dreams of sheaves that bow down low, dreams of sun and moon and stars that show a future they don't wanna know. Down to the pit, down to the chain, sold for silver, bound in pain. But even in the darkest night, the Lord was with him, holding tight on the dreamer's road.
Caravan to Egypt's land, slave in Potiphar's command. Everything he touched would grow, blessed by hands they didn't know, until the light brought him down below.
Down
To the pit,
down
to the chain,
sold for silver, bound in pain.
but even in the prison's night,
The Lord was with him, holding tight on the dreamer's road.
from the favorite to forgotten, from the blessed to the broken. But the story isn't over yet. God remembers, don't forget. Through the pit, through the pain, through the prison, through the shame, even in the darkest night,
The Lord is with us, holding tight on the dreamer's road.
oh, on the dreamer's road.
Genesis 40. Joseph is in prison and interprets dreams for two of Pharaoh's servants. His interpretations come true, but the servant who is released forgets about Joseph for 2 years. Genesis 41. Pharaoh has dreams no one can interpret. Joseph is brought from prison, interprets the dreams. 7 good years, then 7 years of famine, and gives advice on preparing for the famine. Pharaoh makes Joseph second in command of Egypt. Joseph stores grain during the good years. Then the famine begins. Genesis 42. The famine reaches Joseph's homeland. His brothers come to Egypt to buy grain, but don't recognize Joseph. He tests them by accusing them of being spies and demands they bring their youngest brother, Benjamin. He keeps one brother, Simeon, as a hostage. The brothers realize they're being punished for what they did to Joseph years ago. What this means for us today. Here are the main lessons. Trust God in hard times. Joseph suffered for years, but God had a plan he couldn't see. Forgive others. Joseph's brothers hurt him badly, but the story is moving toward healing and reconciliation. Prepare for tough times. Save and plan ahead when things are good. Our choices matter. What we do today affects our future and others. God can use you anywhere. Joseph went from prisoner to powerful leader. Your circumstances don't limit God. Be patient. Good things often take time. Keep trusting God even when you're waiting. The big idea. God is working even when life is hard, and He can bring good from bad situations.
sitting in the prison, forgotten and alone. Dreams of cupbearers and bakers, interpretations known. 3 days I told them, and it all came true. But 2 more years I waited in that cell for you. Pharaoh's dreams are haunting, no one understands. But you gave me the wisdom, put Egypt in my hands. Now my brothers stand before me, they don't know my face. The ones who sold me into slavery, now asking for grace. From the pit to the palace, you were there all along. Through the chains and the silence, you were writing my song. 7 years of plenty, 7 years of pain, but you turn our sorrow into harvest grain. From the pit to the palace, I will trust your name. What they meant for evil, you meant for good. You were always working just like you said you would. From the pit to the palace, you were faithful and true. Every tear, every trial was leading me to you. From the pit to the palace, you were there all along. Through the chains and the silence, you were writing my song. From the pit.
Genesis 43. The family runs out of food. Jacob finally lets Benjamin go to Egypt with his brothers. When Joseph sees Benjamin, he's so emotional, he has to leave and cry. He throws them a feast and gives Benjamin extra food. Genesis 44. Joseph secretly puts his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. When it's found, the brothers are devastated. Judah begs Joseph to let him stay as a slave instead of Benjamin, saying it would kill their father to lose Benjamin. Genesis 45. Joseph can't hold it in anymore. He sends everyone else away and tells his brothers who he really is. They're terrified, but Joseph says not to feel bad. God meant for this to happen, so he could save everyone from the famine. He tells them to bring their father and the whole family to Egypt. Pharaoh agrees and offers them the best land. The brothers go home and tell Jacob that Joseph is alive. At first, Jacob doesn't believe it, but then he's overjoyed and agrees to go see him. What this means for us today. Here are the main lessons. Bad things can lead to good. Joseph's suffering ended up saving his family. God can use our hard times for a purpose. Forgive people who hurt you. Joseph forgave his brothers instead of punishing them. We should do the same. People can change. The brothers who sold Joseph later became better men who cared about each other. Broken families can heal. Even after years of hurt, Joseph's family came back together. Trust God's plan. Joseph didn't understand why he suffered for so long, but eventually it made sense. Sometimes we have to wait and trust.
Years of silence, 20 years of pain. The silver cup was planted, accusations came again.
Benjamin stood trembling while Judah took the stand. Take me in his place, sir, I'll never leave this land.
And the walls came down, the masks fell away. The Egyptian Lord was weeping, had no more words to say. I am Joseph, your brother, the one you cast aside. But God meant it for good, He was with me all this time. Closer, don't be troubled, don't be angry with yourselves. God sent me here before you, so your families would be spared. And the walls came down, the masks fell away. The Egyptian Lord was weeping, had no more words to say. I am Joseph, your brother, the one you cast aside. But God meant it for good, He was with me all this time. Oh, go tell my father Jacob that his son is still alive. Bring everyone to Egypt, through this famine you'll survive. And he fell on Benjamin, and they wept there reconciled. A family torn, now mended by forgiveness undefiled. When the walls came down, grace covered the shame. What was meant for evil, God rewrote the pain. Joseph was their brother, with arms open wide, saying God meant it for good, He was with us.
Genesis 46. Jacob and his whole family, 70 people total, travel to Egypt to be with Joseph. God tells Jacob not to worry about going to Egypt. Jacob and Joseph have an emotional reunion after being separated for years. They settle in the region of Goshen. Genesis 47. Pharaoh lets Joseph's family live in Goshen. Good land for their flocks. The famine gets worse, and Joseph manages Egypt's food supplies so well that Pharaoh ends up owning all the land. The Israelites thrive in Goshen. When Jacob is old and dying, he makes Joseph promise to bury him back in Canaan, not Egypt. Genesis 48. Jacob is dying and blesses Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. He adopts them as his own sons. When blessing them, Jacob puts his right hand on the younger son Ephraim instead of the older Manasseh, showing that Ephraim will become greater even though Joseph protests. What this means for us today. Here are simpler takeaways from Genesis 46 to 48. God keeps His promises. Even when life is hard and uncertain, God stays with us and takes care of us. Families can heal. Jacob and Joseph were separated for years, but reunited. Broken relationships can be restored. Bad situations can lead to good. The famine that seemed terrible actually brought the family back together. God can use hard times for good. Trust God's plan, even when it's unexpected. Jacob blesses the younger grandson over the older one. God's ways may surprise us, but we can trust him. Think about the next generation. Jacob cared about his family's future and passed on his faith. What we teach and model matters for those who come after us.
70 souls went down that day. Jacob's house on the desert way. God spoke in visions of the night. Don't be afraid, I'm by your side.
I'll go with you to Egypt's land. I'll make you great by my own hand, and Joseph's hand will close your eyes, so Israel rose beneath the skies.
After all these years of pain, father and son embrace again. 22 years of tears and grief melt away in sweet relief. Now I can die, the old man cries. I've seen your face, you're still alive. Pharaoh asks, how old are you? 130 years I've lived through. Few and difficult have been my days, not like my father's longer ways.
In Goshen they will make their home. Shepherds settle no more to roam. Jacob blessed Pharaoh standing there.
A wanderer's wisdom, a patriarch's prayer.
When the time drew near to die,
Jacob called his son nearby.
promise me you'll not leave me here.
Bury me where my fathers rest, my dear. Then Joseph brought his two sons near, Ephraim and Manasseh here. But Israel's eyes were dim with age, still wisdom spoke from heaven's sage.
He crossed his hands, the younger blessed it over the older. Nonetheless, the younger shall be greater still, according to the Father's will.
The God who's been my shepherd true, the angel who has brought me through all my life until this day. Bless these boys along their way. The blessing given, the promise made. Through Ephraim's line the seed was laid. Generations yet to come in God's great story not yet done. In the crossing of the hands we see God's electing mystery. Not by birth or human right, but by grace and heaven's light.
Genesis 49. Jacob blesses his 12 sons before he dies, predicting what will happen to their families. Then he dies. Genesis 50. Joseph buries his father Jacob in Canaan. Joseph's brothers worry he'll punish them now, but Joseph forgives them. Joseph later dies in Egypt at age 110. What this means for us today. Here are a few key takeaways. Forgiveness is powerful. Joseph had every reason to be bitter, but he chose to forgive his brothers and saw God's bigger plan in his suffering. This shows us we can forgive even deep hurts. God works through messy situations. Joseph's famous line, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good," reminds us that God can bring purpose out of painful circumstances. Family matters. Despite all their dysfunction and conflicts, this family stuck together in the end. Reconciliation is possible, even after serious betrayal. Our choices affect future generations. Jacob's blessings to his sons shaped entire tribes. What we do today impacts those who come after us. Keep promises. Joseph made his brothers promise to eventually take his bones to the promised land. He trusted God's long-term promises, even though he wouldn't live to see them fulfilled. The story essentially shows that redemption, forgiveness, and God's faithfulness can triumph over family dysfunction and human failings.
Gather round, my sons, come near. These are my final words to hear. Reuben, you were first in line, but like water, you could not shine.
Judah, from you the scepter comes, a lion's strength in David's son. Joseph, you're a fruitful vine by the well, your branches climb.
What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to save many lives, just as He said He would. From a father's blessing to a brother's fear, grace covers all when forgiveness draws near. Bury me where my fathers sleep, in Canaan's cave, the promise keep. With Abraham and Isaac there in Machpelah, sacred care. Then Jacob breathed his last and went.
To his people his days were spent.
They mourned him long 70 days. Egypt wept at his passing ways. What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to save many lives, just as He said He would. From a father's blessing to a brother's fear, grace covers all when forgiveness draws near. Will Joseph pay us back, they cry,
Now that our fathers died.
for all the wrong we did to him? Will hatred overflow the brim?
But Joseph wept to hear their plea.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid, come close to me.
Am I in the place of God above? I'll care for you and yours with love. What you meant for evil, God meant for good, to preserve many lives, just as He said He would. From betrayal's pit to redemption's throne, God's purpose prevails. We're not alone. Joseph lived 110 complete, saw his great-grands at his feet.
God will surely come, He said.
Carry up my bones ahead to the land He promised you. Ancient words forever true.